Well, the headline is right. I'm pretty sure Chelsea fans would hate that. Hey, what's going on, friends? Welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan, and as always, I really do hope you're doing well, mate. I do hope that, and welcome back to Chelsea News. Of course, this is the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about those beautiful blue boys, giving you my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it, mate. But as always, more importantly, asking for yours, for we are a community here. And in today's Chelsea News video, we give some love to Malo Gusto, who won Player of the Match, on SofaScore at least, for their win over Azerbaijan. Of course, he is feeling himself at the moment. He is in what can only be described as good form, and we nearly let him go to Bayern Munich. And sticking on the Bayern Munich related story train, Nico Jackson reportedly says Football Transfers, we are hemorrhaging money in terms of his transfer valuation while he's there. A lot of you guys, even in the comments, still think Nico should be playing for Chelsea at the moment. An interesting conversation, and one that we will dive into in today's video. And of course, I do want to reference this. I know a lot of other content creators have spoken about this story a little bit more, but because Chelsea are so flush in midfield, I've avoided it a little bit. But as an England fan, I cannot avoid the absolute brilliance of Elliot Anderson. But should Chelsea actually go for him, it would probably be a symptom or a reaction of perhaps Chelsea selling Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, the story that won't go away. Real Madrid, they want the World Cup winner, white-teethed Enzo Fernandez that sort of reeks of Galactico. Is he an untouchable? Many of you, and dare I say myself as a spoiler, would say, yeah, he is an untouchable. But there are some at the club that maybe think otherwise. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. Guys, thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching the content here today. You're, of course, all welcome. So if you want to show some support, please do drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new, for we are moving ever closer to 200,000. It's very close now. So yes, I'm talking to you, mate. You who watch my videos all the time, but you're not subscribed. Now is the time. Yes, and those of you devout followers to the content, it's time you get your auntie, uncle, grandparents to subscribe. Come on, the Goat Gang rally. Let's get over the edge. Over the edge? Over the finish line. No one go over the edge. Stay well away from the edge. We're not over the edge. We're on solid ground. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Okay then, let's get into it. The Chelsea Chronicle writes, Enzo Maresca will be glad Malo Gusto never joined Bayern Munich. Of course, in June, it was claimed that Bayern inquired about signing Malo Gusto, a transfer that did never materialise in the end, though Maresca will be happy about that. He's made 13 appearances in all competitions for Chelsea this season, and is now one of the manager's most important players. Maresca earlier this month said, I said that we have many good players, but Malo, for us, is the main player in the way we want to play because he allows us to be versatile. I have been heavily critical of Maresca's implementation, how he's deployed Malo in the inverted role, whether that be central defensive midfield or indeed in the right pocket, which is kind of like a right number 10. Very peculiar for what we knew as a conventional fullback who just run up and down. Did that very well in the Club World Cup final when we beat European champions Paris Saint-Germain. Incredible scenes. But I must say, he's looking gravy granules again, yeah? I mean, he obviously scored that goal, which was an amazing moment for him, and he's looking like he's just being a very good player. I forget that Malo Gusto is still very young. We signed him when he was like 19, so he was, what, 21, 22 now? He's best years yet to come, and it looks like he's settling into what can only be described as excellent form. But playing well for Chelsea generally, getting that all-important goal, and of course getting called up for France. He got a start against Azerbaijan. Obviously, they'd already qualified, but still put in a man-of-the-match performance. Check out his SofaScore rating here, above my hand, hopefully, should my editing, go well. So yeah, he's doing well. He's feeling himself. He's dynamic. He's rarely injured. I know he's had a few niggles. He's had a couple of has he had a couple of red cards in his Chelsea career? Not for a while, touch wood, because that is seemingly a trend of late. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm super pleased he didn't go to Bayern Munich, and I can understand why Vincent Kompany would want him over in Bavaria. because he's a very good, dynamic young right back who can play in different positions, who is getting better and better, who can hold the width well, who can seemingly play better on the inside, more and more as he gets more sort of time there and understanding. And yeah, he's always assisted, but if he's adding goals to his game, then I'm very, very pleased. So shout out to Malo Gusto. Bien joué, mon ami, mon garçon. Très, très bien. Allez, on y va pour une autre histoire. Let's move on to another story. Football transfers, right? About how the Nicholas Jackson loan is costing Chelsea millions. Sticking with the Bayern train, Chelsea have been told Nico Jackson does not want to cut short his loan at Bayern Munich, and the deal is apparently seeing Chelsea hemorrhage money. Don't need to remind you guys the narrative of this transfer, but let's do it anyway for, the sake of the video. So this has not been properly reported, but I think there's been a sort of fallout between him and the manager. We knew he got a couple of high profile red cards that condemned us at the end of last season and in the Club World Cup. In fact, the only 2 losses that we had in a big run of games were those 2 games against Newcastle and Flamengo when he got sent off. And the rest of the games we won or drew. So, or maybe we won them, all of them. Anyway, high profile Reds, and he was clearly sorry, showed remorse, but we signed Delap and Joao Pedro, and he caught a whiff of Joao Pedro being deployed as a striker. I think he welcomed Delap, you got no other striker, Delap's cool, I'll sort of fight with him. But when he saw Maresca really like Joao Pedro as a 9, he was like, right, I'm in troubles here. Let's go. We know we want to go to Bayern. It was an injury. We tried to call him back. He said no. We ended up recalling Mark Yu, and he finally got his move to Bayern Munich. And what seemingly on the surface seemed like a great financial deal for us because it was a record loan fee, I think. Pretty strong buyout clause. We'll learn a little bit more about that in a moment. In fact, let's carry on reading because I want to speak about Nico Jackson more broadly because I am a fan of the player, by the way. So let's keep reading. Jackson was loaned to the Bundesliga leaders at the end of the summer transfer window to provide them with backup for Harry Kane. He's actually played with him as well at the same time. The Colombia international striker. Who is the Colombia international striker? Do you mean the Senegalese striker? This is silly. Apart from that mistake, Nicholas Jackson is struggling to make an impression under Vincent Kompany. He's played only 420 minutes, one for all you stoners out there, and while he's scored 3 goals, 2 of these have come in runaway Champions League victories. Not great, I suppose. When the deal was struck, it was reported by reputable sources, such as Sky Sports, are they reputable? That Bayern had an obligation to buy him, worth 80 million euros, with a 16 million loan fee. Wow, 96 million euros. That's a lot of money, gang. It emerged via Bild, which of course is a German publication. It would take a very, very high number of appearances for this to be triggered, so much so that it's unlikely Jackson's move will be permanent. Yeah, we heard that from, officials at Bayern Munich coming out saying, yeah, don't believe the media, mate, because it's very unlikely Jackson signs because he'd have to play every game and he's not going to play every game. We've seen him play with Harry. Yeah, like Harry Kane playing in the number 10, dropping in masterclasses, by the way, in that role. But I think I've seen enough. I've seen his appearances, how he's playing. He is not going to be signed by Bayern Munich. Unless the option, goes down by 30 million or something, and it's just a really easy solution. But at the moment, it's a big old loan fee, and he's not, in terms of his age and his long contract, because he signed an extension. His contract is still so long. Chelsea will see him as a really sellable asset regardless. Let's read on. The 24-year-old is likely to remain at Bayern till the end of the season, transfer market specialist Florian Plettenberg reports. But this does not necessarily make good reading for Chelsea. Chelsea are backed into a corner over transfer. Nicholas Jackson's estimated transfer value has plummeted since making the move to Bayern Munich in the summer. He was valued at 65 million euros, which is probably double what we spent on him when he moved to Germany, but that's since dropped to 53.5. Although this is only theoretical value, the move to Kompany's side has almost wiped out the loan fee, that Bayern gave to Chelsea. Theoretical, but fair. To make matters worse, should he continue to struggle to earn game time, his value will continue to drop. While Harry Kane at the peak of his powers, the Blues striker is unlikely to be given too many serious opportunities. Look, he is under contract till 2033, and this theoretical measurement of value, like I said, it's just it's not a player is worth what a Bayern club will spend on him, and clubs will look at players, was it Napoli looking at Rasmus Højlund at Man United, and they'll look at what the player is, and they'll be like, right, we can play, we know how to get a tune out of you. The truth is, Nicholas Jackson is a good striker. Now, many of you don't agree with that. You don't, but he is a player that makes the attack better when he's on form. He's positionally versatile and he can operate in, wide spaces. He is technically gifted. We've seen it. He's got good link-up play, and he doesn't get bullied either. And he's deceptively fast. He's very, very fast on the break. He's a useful striker. How old is Nico? 24? Nicola, I'm going to do the classic football therapy check age while recording. He is 24 years old. There you go. He doesn't turn 25 till next summer. Still very young with a wealth of experience. It's very interesting to see what happens here. I think, personally, he will stay at Bayern because he doesn't want to come back. I think they probably still like the fact how he's available, in case Harry Kane gets injured, and he's a striker there that has got a lot of experience, that, is gifted, even if he's not demonstrating it at the moment, over in Bavaria. But Chelsea, I don't think he lands at Bayern now. I don't think he plays for Chelsea either. While Maresca's still the coach at Chelsea Football Club, I don't think he comes back. Unless there's like a meeting and they sit down, because maybe he grows a bit, But we do have other young strikers now, and he's still a young striker. I keep saying it, I'd take someone senior. Of course, we nearly signed off some men, but it came down to wages. It showed, at least an inclination to sign seniority. But, we've got the Daston, the young player. We've got Shimoeka. We've got Mark Gue. We've got, Delap. I'm not going to say Joao Pedro. I think we're playing him as a striker while we don't have a fit and firing Delap and another option. But yeah, I just don't see a way back for Nico. I do think he's a great striker. I'm a Nico believer. For me personally now, I'm about looking forwards, and as soon as he was loaned to Bayern Munich, in my head, I was like, well, that's done. He's not going to go and play for Bayern, have a good season and come back. He's not going to go and play for Bayern, have a bad season, which looks like this is what's probably happening right now, and come back and play for Chelsea. I think what they'll do is they'll loan him again. They'll say, look, he's still got so many years left on his contract. We can loan him to another European club, maybe a club in Italy or Spain, a Champions League club, and maybe, I don't know, the buyout clause is 55 million. I just cannot see a world where Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich might try and buy him. If he does all right, if he shows promise, if he trains well, scores the odd goal, and, Vincent Kompany and the coaches are like, yeah, a bit more time, and we reckon he could settle in and do well. Even if he's not the success as a Harry Kane, he could be a useful player for us, because he can play with another striker. They might come back to Chelsea going, nah, we're definitely not going to trigger that obligation. We'll give you 35 million euros, like slightly more than we paid him for, which will represent a healthy book profit and, a solution. But I don't think so. I think Chelsea will go, no. Nico Jackson, because people were talking about, before we went to Bayern and before this, that, when the likes of Ugo Ekitike was going for £70 million package, or £69 million, £70 million package, they were saying, right, in the last 2 seasons, Jackson's got more league goal involvements than Ekitike in a much harder league. Yeah, so if he's going for 70 million, we want 80, 90, 100 million, which is obviously ludicrous and was never going to happen. And Ekitike does look exciting as a profile, and we're learning a lot more. So, the goalposts have moved. But yeah, again, loads of you who watch this will be like, yeah, Jackson's better than Ekitike. Watch him when he's in form, when he's doing stuff, when you get the good stuff out of Jackson. It's a really, really high ceiling. I don't know, man. I think, yeah, this saying that we've lost the loan fee in terms of his devaluation is all theoretical. I don't think it's a bad loan in terms of his huge loan fee. He's not going into the final 2 years of his contract. He's got loads of years left. They will feel, and he is dedicated, Jackson. He's really, really driven. They will feel we will get money back for this guy one way or another in the next 2 years, say. That's what I think personally. Let me know your thoughts, and let's move on to the next story. Right, reading this off the Chelsea Chronicle. Elliot Anderson. Chelsea could have to make decision fans will absolutely hate before they can sign Elliot Anderson. Now, I must say, his name, Anderson, has been linked to Chelsea quite a lot in the last weeks/months, which hasn't made much sense to me, because as I always say to you guys, we are stacked in the midfield, of course, with the likes of Santos, Sugo, Lavia, who's probably the most talented of the three. I know Santos can be amazing potentially, but Lavia's meant to have this insane ceiling. But Lavia, like I always joke, is, Schrodinger's footballer. We never see him. His injury is just constantly reoccurring. Poor lad, sympathy and all that, but you can't rely on him. Now, Elliot Anderson is an interesting footballer because he's more of a functional cog regista. I see him like a little bit as a supercharged Jorginho, with the greatest of respect to a great player in Jorginho. Because Anderson's looking like one of the most important players for England at the moment. Of course, Nottingham Forest. Now, he's been heavily linked to Man United. It would make way more sense him going to Man United in terms of filling a desired spot. They've also looked at Carlos Baleba, who's slightly different profile than Anderson. Anderson's more of like a pass. He can do it all though, He's really good, Anderson. And he's the kind of player, again, might be part of England fan and me talking. He's the kind of player that had he joined my football club Chelsea, I would struggle to not be very excited about it. Now, he is young, he's not, and he'll probably accept the wages. Recently Fabrizio Romano went on his YouTube channel reacting to Vinicius being linked to Man United and Chelsea, and he said, look, forget it. Chelsea just don't go for players like this. They go for Estevao, Cole Palmer, these talents where they get them for less money, they get them younger, and they get them on less wages. I think we'll still play big transfer fees now and again. So Elliot Anderson, whatever his, even with our young wage structure, incentivized wage structure, which by the way, you can still make a lot of money on, yeah? If you're playing in the Champions League, you get the 25% bonus. And then there'll be other incentivized elements in your contract. You could still make, 200k a week at Chelsea as a young player or something, everything put together. So there is, if you're playing really well. So he's he's probably on, what's he on at Forest? 50k a week or something? I'm guessing that totally, but he won't be on insane money. So of course, if he goes to Man United, he'll get a bigger basic than Chelsea, and it would make more sense. It doesn't make sense unless we sell Enzo Fernandez. So this is what this article on the Chelsea Chronicle is suggesting. It's not saying Chelsea are selling Enzo, but it is the story that's never gone away. And in the great discussion of the untouchable Chelsea players, people will say the classic Cole Palmer, Levi Colwill, Reece James, Moises Caicedo, who's probably now the top of the tree, probably Cucurella because we don't have a quality replacement. Stevao's probably in that now. And then you start running thin, bro. Obviously they want to see Giovanni Kender, Penders, Pires, these youngsters come through and see what they can do. But there's, even though Enzo Fernandez is so important for Chelsea, he does every now and again argue with Maresca, but Maresca really trusts him. He's the vice captain. He does score goals. He gets this registers assists. He covers a lot of ground. He always plays. He shows passion. He's got that South American spirit. He's never got a bad attitude. He goes to war for Chelsea every time he's on the pitch. His relationship with Reece James on the pitch is amazing. You always see them celebrating, screaming, headbutting each other, proper war cries. Stuff you love to see. Now, with that, it's probably my time where I say I would not sell Enzo Fernandez. I really am a big fan of his. But I do catch a whiff of this idea that he's not in the untouchables, that Real Madrid are constantly trying to rebuild that sort of iconic midfield that was decimated, that they haven't quite got right. The Camavinga, Tchouaméni, trying to replace. Bellingham, fine, has come in and sort of been this great player, but sort of better and more attacking than functional. But, your Modric, your Casemiros, your Krooses, they're all gone. And there is this idea that bringing in an Enzo Fernandez, he's got aura, he's got that Galactico quality that I think you'd need for Real Madrid. And Chelsea would, I think, I'm not saying, I'm guessing here, but I do think there's a price for him where there isn't a price for Caicedo or Palmer or Estevao. I feel like there is a price for Enzo Fernandez. And then they'd look to a player like Elliot Anderson, who actually plays slightly differently. In Maresca's system, I doubt he'd play the Fernandez role, which is a discussion to be had on another day while it's all theoretical. But yeah, he does be linked to Chelsea often. I haven't really spoken about him much, but that's what's being speculated here. That if he comes in, it will probably be a reaction to Fernandez having his head turned by Real Madrid going there. And then Chelsea going, right, well, we need this sort of superstar. You guys might be like, trust Santos. But I think if you're looking at a player who's operating at the highest level in the Premier League, it's just like, I know they're doing badly for us, but in terms of like showing what he can do and showing what he can do for England, like Tuchel, we all like Tuchel, right? Tuchel's looked at him and gone, he's starting in my midfield, you know. I know you've got Wharton and him and in that particular kind of profile, but he's just gone, yeah, the Forest midfielder, him straight in. Let's win the World Cup, mate. That's the kind of player we're talking about here. Anyway, I wouldn't do it personally, but at the same time, like I said earlier, he's the kind of player that should we sign, it'd be hard not to get excited about. Let me know your thoughts, comment them down below. Thank you for dropping a like wherever that is down here and hyping the video, commenting, sharing, subscribing, yum yum yum. And yeah man, hope to see you back here very soon. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.